Sayadaw, we would like to invite Sayadaw to kindly start the Dhamma talk now.
So, I will share all of you the one Sutta. The Sutta name is the Abhaya Sutta. Abhaya Sutta means fearless, fearless. So, here is a now. I choose this Sutta. I have some reason. Because nowadays, over the world, everyone has the fear. Everyone has a fear of COVID-19 pandemic, or everyone is fearing for their safety from COVID-19 pandemic. So now I want all of you to be fearless. So I have to choose the Sutta, fearless, Abhaya Sutta. No? Do you want to be the fearless person? Okay, so because of that, I choose the Sutta. People talk about this Sutta. People sharing of the Sutta. We should pay respect to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. We will continue. So this Sutta is actually for the one Brahmin, Buddha taught for the one Brahmin, not regarding one Brahmin. So let us start this Sutta and we will go in and explain. No? So according to the Sutta, the Brahmin Jāneyyācāra approached to the blessed ones, and exchanged greeting with him. So here, Brahmin Jāneyyācāra, he approached to the Buddha. Why? Who is a Brahmin Jāneyyācāra and why he approached to the Buddha? So this is a very interesting. So here, first of all, we should know about him. The Brahmin Jāneyyācāra. Brahmin Jāneyyācāra is not a Buddhist. So it is a stray. Even though he is a not Buddhist, but he approached to the Buddha. Now, why? He have the same reason. The Brahmin Jāneyyācāra is one of the, like a minister of the King Kosala, the Savati. So he's a very famous Brahmin also. When he's young, he's a very proud. He's a very intelligent, so that he's very proud. But now, this time, he is quite old because his old is same as a King Kosala or older than the King Kosala. So our Buddha, he is a 45 Vasa. He shared the Dhamma. But the first Buddha's food, the 20 Vasa, he not stay there one place for a long time. But the second, the Buddhahood, from 21 to 44, 24 years, he stayed in Savati. So that this Sutta is a possibility the Buddha's 44th Vasa, when Buddha reached the 44 Vasa. So that at the time, Buddha's age should be the 79. So this is a Brahmin Janusoni. He is also around the 79 or 18 or over the 80. So he is quite old, and also the death approached to him. So that actually he afraid of the death. So he have the question. He have the a lot of the question, but he cannot get the answer, which can make him to be satisfied. So even though he is not Buddhist now, he cannot find the answer from other. So he approached to the Buddha, and he hope he may get the answer from the Buddha. So it is here we should know it is a nature. It is a nature of the human being, or we can say it is a nature of the all being. Why? When the day is approached to being, approached to us, so we may afraid of death, or we fear from death. So it is a very obvious nowadays. Now because of the COVID-19 pandemic, everyone remember the death, and also they feel that death approach to us. In the same way now, this Brahmin Janusoni, he afraid of the death. So now he approached to the Buddha and he expressed his disease, his disease. So here he said that, Master Gautama, I hold the disease and view that there is no one subject to death who is not frightened and terrified of death. So here we should know one. His Janusoni Brahmi, his disease or his view. Now here, his view is there is no one subject to death who is not frightened and terrified of death. This is his view. Because his thinking is not based on the bodies, so that his thinking is different from the bodies. So, and then the Buddha disagree his disease or his view. So later on you will be able to understand what is the Buddha point of view. So Buddha replied that, Brahmin, there are those subjects to death that are frightened and terrified of death. And there are also those subjects to death that are not frightened and terrified of death. So here is his view is only one side. Everyone is afraid of the death. This is his view. But the Buddha view is some people are afraid of the death, but some people are not afraid of the death. This is the Buddha's view. So and then Buddha also continued to give the Dhamma talk, sharing the Dhamma to him. And Brahmin, who are those subjects to death that are frightened and terrified of death? And then Buddha also gave the answer. Here someone has not devoid of lust, desire, affection, thirst, passion, and craving for sensual pleasure. When he contracts a severe and debilitating illness, he thinks, the sensual pleasure dear to me will leave me, and I will have to leave those sensual pleasure, the sorrow, languishes, and laments. Weeps, beating his chest, and become confused. This is one subject to death, who is frightened and terrified of death. So this is the first answer. Because Buddha, first of all, Buddha made the answer himself. Who are those subjects to death that are frightened and terrified of death? This is a question. And then Buddha gives the answer. This is the first answer. That means that this is a person, this is the first person, number one person, first person who is afraid of the death. So here we look at the one subject to death who is afraid and terrified of the death. What kinds of person? So the person who has not divided, who has not abandoned lust, or who has not divided of lust, and also desire, affection, thirst, passion, and craving for sensual pleasure. So that means here the lust, desire, affection, thirst, passion, and craving. This is a key word. So that means for all of us, if we still have such lust, desire, affection, thirst, passion, and craving for sensual pleasure, still you or us, you or we are afraid of death. Okay, so here we will take the one story to easy to understand. First of all, here we already see there is a lust, desire, affection, thoughts, passion, craving. So, related with those the Buddha taught in the Dhammatalk, there is some stanzas. So here I will teach some stanza from the Dhammatalk. So here said that Pimado Jayati Soko Pimado Jayati Paya Pimado Vipamutasa Nati Soko Kudopaya. And also Jāneyyācārā Soko Jāneyyācārā Paya Radiya Vipamutasa Nati Soko Kudopaya. And also Kamado Jayati Soko Kamado Jayati Paya Kamado Vipamutasa Nati Soko Kudopaya. And also Jāneyyācārā Soko Jāneyyācārā Paya Dhanaya Vipamudasa Nati Soko Kudopaya. The meaning is from the deer, grief is born. From the deer, fear is born. For the one free from deer, there is no grief. So how fear? And also another one. From the love, grief is born. From the love, fear is born. For one free from love, there is no grief, so how fear? And also another one. From the delight, grief is born. From the delight, fear is born. For one free from delight, there is no grief, so how fear? And also, from the sensuality, grief is born. From the sensuality, fear is born. For one free from sensuality, there is no grief, so how fear? And also, from the craving, grief is born. From the craving, fear is born. For one free from craving, there is no grief, so how fear? So here, the craving, sensuality, delight, love, and dear, all are the synonym. Grief comes from the lust, and also fear comes from the lust. And also lust comes from the craving. We should understand like that. So here the stanza. Pima do jadi sogo bima do jadi bayan. Pima do wipa mutasa nati sogo kudo bayan. That means that from the last or from the dia, grief is born. From the last or from the dia, fear is born. And also for one free from the last or dia, there is no grief and so harm fear. So this stanza, Buddha taught to the one the female devotee. Name is Visakha. So here the devotee, the Visakha. She is a very famous donor of the Poparama monastery as the Savati. So Visakha have the granddaughter. She is very clever and also the leader to offer long liver requisite to the Bhikkhu Sangha in her house when Visakha was absent. When Visakha go out. So at the time, this granddaughter have to take the duty for the Sangha duty. So that means this the Visakha granddaughter, she is very clever and very lovely, the girl. So, but once she died, so Visakha is a very sorrow and great limitation. So he approached to Buddha. She approached to Buddha. She made the Visakha. She approached to the Buddha because he is very sad. He's very sad and also full of the sorrow. So she approached to Buddha. So and then also Buddha see her. Oh, she is very sad. So Buddha asked to Visakha, what is the reason? What is the reason? So Visakha explained about her daughter. Her daughter suddenly passed away. So Buddha asked Visakha, how many people are there in Savatthi? So she replied, and there is about 70 million in Savatthi. So Buddha also asked, do you want to have as your granddaughter to all these 70 million of people? She want, because her daughter is very lovely. So she want to, and she want some kinds of the lovely granddaughter. So that means the Saudi have the population is 70 million. So this all is if they be your granddaughter, is it good or not, or can you want to accept something like that? Buddha asked. So Visakha also said, okay, all these 70 million is become her granddaughter and son or something like that. You will be happy. She will be happy and she want to get that kinds of the granddaughter. For example, this one is like that. If now is you have for example, son, the son and daughter or grandson and granddaughter, but they are also if they are very lovely and very clever. So second of the son and daughter or grandson and granddaughter, if you want to get more, if you have chance to get more, also you want. In the same way now Visakha said that she also want, if she have chance to get the second of granddaughter, she want to get the money around the 70 million also she wants. So and then also Buddha asked Visakha, how many people die every day in Savatthi? Because Savatthi have the 70 million people. So Buddha asked, how many person die every day in Savatthi? So and then she replied, oh, many people die in Savatthi every day. So and then if every person in the society, every person is as your, for example, your granddaughter. So now it's a one only they pass away. You have to cry, you have to sorrow, you have sorrow, you have the grief. So everyone is your granddaughter or grandson. So every day have the every day that this person will die, some person will die. So every day you have to cry. Every day you have grief and sorrow. So and then Visakha said, "Oh, Bandi, I understand." So he said that, "Oh, Bandi, I understand." That means that what does she understand? How does she understand? She understand. Oh, because she have the attachment or she have less of love to the her daughter. Because of this reason, now she is crying and also she have the sorrow, lamentation, grief. If she don't love to granddaughter, so she will not have the grief and sorrow. Okay, so because of that, after she replied, Bandi, I understand. So and then Buddha they speak out this stanza. Bima do jayati soko bima do jayati payan bima do vipamutasa nati soko kuto payan. So that means the from the dia, from the last, grave is born. From the dia, from the last, fear is born. For one, free from last, free from dia. There is no grave. So how fear? So that means now Visakha is crying and she have the grief and sorrow. Why? Because she have the last to her daughter. In the same way, if all of you have the last to your son or daughter or your family or also your property. So based on your last, if your last is strong, so when you such a property or the this last person will leave you differently, you will have the sorrow, grief, and limitation. So this is Soda, this is the first person. This is the one subject to death who is frightened and terrified of the death. So and then Buddha continued to taught the next person, second person. Also someone has no device of lust, desire, affection, thoughts, passions, and craving for the body. When he contracts a severe and debilitating illness, he thinks, this body dear to me will leave me and I will have to leave this body. He sorrow, languishes, and lament. He weeps, beaten his chest, and become confused. This too is one subject to death, who is frightened and terrified of death. So that means if the person who has not the vice of the lust for the body, so such kind of person, also such kind of person is frightened and terrified of the death. Okay, and then this is the second person. And then Buddha continued to tell the third person. Someone has not done what is good and wholesome or made a shelter for himself, but he has done what is even cruel and defiled. When he contracts a severe and debilitating illness, he thinks, I have not done anything good and wholesome, nor have I made a shelter for myself, but I have done what is even cruel and divine. When I pass on, I will meet an appropriate fate. His sorrow languishes and lament. We've beaten his chest and become confused. This too is one subject to death, one who is frightened and terrified of death. So that this part is also important for all of us. So if we has not done what is good and wholesome, also if we not made a shout out for ourselves, that means if we will not do wholesome, if we will not do the good deed, so that means that we not made shout out for us, for ourselves. So if we don't do wholesome, what will happen? When we contract illness, so we think me like that. Near this moment, there is a fear, a fear in our near this moment time. So because do not, we had not done the good deed. So that means that if we do not have, if we have not done the good deed, so what will happen? The opposite. We have done the bad deeds and wholesome thing. So they will appear. Some kinds of objects will appear the near this moment. So and then our destination will not be fine, will not be fine, will not be good. Our future will not be good. So and then also you will be frightened and terrified of the death. So from now on, we should start to prepare it for all of us. And also Buddha continued to talk the number fourth person. Someone here is perplexed, doubtful, and undecided about the good Dhamma. When he contracts a severe and debilitating illness, he thinks, I am perplexed, doubtful, and undecided about the good Dhamma. He sorrow, languishes, and laments. He weeps, beating his chest, and become confused. This too is one subject to death who is frightened and terrified of death. There are four subjects to death that are frightened and terrified of death. So that is a four person. So we conclude that these are four person. First one is who has not the right of lust, desire, affection, thirst, passion, and craving for sensual pleasure. This is the one. Second one is who has not the right or lust, desire, affection, thirst, passion, and craving for the body. This is the second. The third person who has not done what is a good and wholesome or made a shout for himself, but he has done what is even cruel and divine. This is the third person. And fourth, he is a perplexed, doubtful, and undecided about the good Dhamma. This is fourth person. So those four persons are for the subjects to death that are frightened and terrified of death. So and thus Buddhas taught that the others are four persons. So Brahmin, who are those subjects to death that are not frightened and terrified of death. Someone is devoid of lust, desire, affection, thirst, passion, and craving for sensual pleasure. Such as severe and debilitating illness. He does not think this sensual pleasure dear to me will leave me, and I will have to leave those sensual pleasure. He does not sorrow, languish, and lament. He does not weep within his chest and become confused. This is one subject to death, who is not frightened and terrified of death. So now we will go on the next passage. And if the found a time, later on we will explain one by one and how to be the fearless person. No? We will go on the next one. The someone is a devoid or lust, desire, affection, thoughts, passion, and craving for the body. When he contracts a severe and debilitating illness, he does not think, this body dear to me will leave me, and I will have to leave this body. He does not sorrow, language, and lament. He does not weep, beating his chest, and become confused. This too is one subject to death, who is not frightened and terrified of death. So this is true, the person. So the first one is who has divided all the lust for the body. First one is who has divided all the lust for the sensual pleasure. These are two persons. So if you want to be free from the lust for the sensual pleasure, or if you want to be free from the lust for the body, what should you do? So we will discuss later, no? And then Buddha continued the next passage. Someone has not done what is even curious and defied, but has done what is good and wholesome and made a shelter for himself. When he contracts a severe and debilitating illness, he thinks, I have not done anything even curious and defied. I have done what is good and wholesome and made a shelter for myself. When I pass on, I will meet a prophet fate. He does not sorrow, languish, and lament. He does not weep, beating his chest, and become confused. This too is one subject to death, who is not frightened and terrified of death. So here we should try to make a shelter for ourselves by doing good and wholesome. Also, I encourage all of you to make a shelter of yourself by doing wholesome and good deeds. Buddha continued the next one. Someone is unpublished, doubt-free, and decided about the Dhamma, good Dhamma. When he contracts a severe and debilitating illness, he thinks, I am unpublished, doubt-free, and decided about the good Dhamma. He does not sorrow, languish, and lament. He does not weep within his chest and become confused. This too is one subject to death, who is not frightened and terrified of death. The Buddha said that these Brahmins are four subjects to death that are not frightened and terrified of death. So Buddha said that there is a fourth person who are the subjects to death that are not frightened and terrified of the death. That means those four persons are not afraid of the death when the afraid approach to them. So this is the Brahmin, Jāneyyācāra Brahmin. He is very satisfied with this answer from the Buddha. So that he said, Excellent Master Gautama, please, Master Gautama, consider me as a lay follower who from today has gone for refuge for life. So, because of this sentence, we understand that Brahmin Jāneyyācāra is a not Buddhist before meet with the Buddha. Before listening to this Sutta, he is not Buddhist. Okay, so now here is a we all of you understand these 4%. The 4% who are not afraid of the death. No? So the first one is a who has deprived of less desire, affection, thirst, passion, and craving for sensual pleasure. And second one, who has deprived of less desire, affection, thirst, passion, and craving for the body. And that one, who has not done what is evil, cruel, and defiled, and that has done what is good and wholesome and made a shelter for themselves. And also fourth, the who is unpublished, doubt-free, and decided about the good Dhamma. Those 4% are not afraid of the death, and see they are fearless person. So here, if we want to free from lust, desire, affection, thoughts, past, and craving for sensual pleasure and for the body. And also if we want to free from the doubt to the good Dhamma, what should we do? It is important for all of us. So only there is a one way. There is a one way. We need to practice the Dhamma. What are the Dhamma? The Dhamma is a Buddha teaching. What is how many is the Buddha teaching? There is a, as you know, three Pitaka. So a lot. But we can summarize these three Pitakas into the 37 requisites of enlightenment. And Bodhipakya Dhamma, no? 37 requisites of enlightenment.
Requisites.
37 requisites of enlightenment. The Bodhipakya Dhamma, no? Do you remember 37 Bodhipakya Dhamma, no?
Only the 37.
Requisite enlightenment. Okay, so what are they? I will say that is a full foundation of mindfulness, full right effort, full based on success, full five the controlling faculty, the five the power, the saving enlightenment of factor, and also the noble eightfold path. Totally, 37 requisites requisite of enlightenment. So that is it. 37. No? That is a 37 requisites of enlightenment. What are they? What are they? What are they? So they are the full foundation of mindfulness. Satipatthana, no? Full foundation of mindfulness. And then second, full right effort. Right effort. And then full basis of success.
Basis of success.
Yeah. And then the five controlling faculty.
Okay.
Indriya, no? And then the five power. Five power. And then seven enlightenment factor. Seven enlightenment factor. Pochinga, no? Seven pochinga. And then the noble eightfold path. That is it. As you know, the Riya, 8 kinds of noble eightfold path. No? So now it says the 37 requisites of enlightenment. No? Also, we can summarize this into the noble eightfold path. Also, you may think that there is a noble eightfold path. It's quite a many. So also we can summarize into the 3 training. The training of morality, the training of concentration, and the training of wisdom. So, to free from lust for the sensual pleasure, or to free from And the last for the body. We only develop the wisdom. Only wisdom can remove these lust for the sensual pleasure or for the body. So we must practice the training of wisdom. So to develop the wisdom, so we must have enough the concentration, because concentration is the proximate cause of wisdom. So without the wisdom, we cannot remove the lust. So without the concentration, also we cannot develop the wisdom, our wisdom. And also, this concentration must be based on morality. So, very beginning, we have to practice morality. It is a very important for all of us, not for the Buddhists and for all. Actually, the 5 precepts. Based on the morality, we can establish the concentration. And if we have the enough concentration, adaptive concentration or absorption concentration, we can develop the wisdom. By practicing the training of wisdom, we will be able to see and know the ultimate materiality and mentality and their causes. If we know and see the ultimate mentality, materiality, and their causes, we can contemplate the vipassana as the impermanent suffering and answer. If we can practice this vipassana meditation very well, and all the vipassana knowledge, we will be able to remove the lust for the sensual pleasure, lust for the body, and we will be the fearless person. Okay, so let us do our Dhammatalk. May you be free from suffering and may you become the fearless person in this present life.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for the Dhammatalk, Sayadaw. Now we are going to have the Q&A session. Sister Patricia will guide the Q&A session.
Good evening, Sayadaw, Suki Hotu, and Dami Sayadaw. We are now entering question and answer session. My name is Patricia. I will guide the question from Zoom and Telegram asked by the audience alternately.
Sayadaw, this person would like to ask, why is the affection just now mentioned last, the affection is subject make the person to become fear and frightened to death. As we know, he said that metta, he thought that the affection is metta.
No.
So it's one of the parami.
Yes, so that is the metta is one of the parami. Metta is because the translation, the na pema. The pema is actually affection. Pema. Pali word is pema, affection. This affection is the 3 kinds. The Tanna Pema, Kehasita Pema, and Mitta Pema. So, Tanna Pema means the affection, but with the lust or craving. This is a Tanna Pema. Even though the affection, but the Tanna, with the craving or with the lust. The other one is a Kehasita Pema. Kehasita Pema is also like a the Tanabima is like the boy and girl, they love each other. This is also the affection, but with the love, with the love. But Kehasita Bima, also the affection, second one. Second one is love with the family, like the parent and the child. So they love. This one is also the affection, but the degree is different. We can see the degree that different, not like a love, the boy and girl. So this is the second one. The third one is a metta bima. Metta bima is also we can transmit this affection. Because of the Pali, we can see affection. But this affection is a kindness. Even though that we can see love, but the kindness, very pure. There is no craving. There is no love. There is no love. So very pure. So it is a different parami and the Tanabhima and Metabhima. Tanabhima and Metabhima is different. Can you get what I mean?
Yes. So the third one is the metabhima is the parami one, is it, Sayadaw?
Metabhima is a parami, and also Metabhima is also the one of the Brahmavihara. No?
Okay.
So if there's someone have the strong the Tanabhima, Tanabhima or Kiyasita Bhima, the affection with the raga, craving, the affection with the love. So this is a danger for the person. But if someone have this metta, loving kindness, so it is good for the person. After the death, they will be and they will reborn the good, the ram. They will reborn the good ram.
Thank you for allowing me to ask a question. Hi, Sayadaw. I follow your many Dhamma talks online, even though I haven't met you in person. Very much appreciate all of the guidance that you give about developing concentration. And I wanted to ask a question about Anapanasati. Would it be appropriate to ask you a question now? Okay, good. So I've been trying to improve my practice of Anapanasati, but I had many challenges with putting in too much effort. But in my session yesterday, I was able to concentrate on the breathing, on mindfulness of breathing. And as you said, I try not to put too much effort on, concentrating on a particular point, but just generally be aware of the breath is somewhere in front of my face. And I feel like I was getting some progress with that. But after 2 hours, I noticed I was able to feel some kind of awareness of the breath, like passing like a seesaw across the tip of my nose. And I was really, I guess, maybe too excited. And I started focusing on the feeling. And then when I started focusing on the feeling, I think the meditation changed into the 4 elements meditation again. So I wanted to get some advice from you on how to balance it, because a lot of times when I'm meditating, I feel like, okay, I'm just mindful of the breath. Like I know I'm breathing, I know I'm alive. There's an out breath, there's an in breath. But anytime I become conscious of the breath touching, I tend to go into 4 elements meditation. Do you have any advice for me on how to balance it? Am I doing this correctly, or what could I do to improve?
Okay, so actually like that, most of the meditator, they want to get the improve very quickly. So this is the one thing. They want to get the success in the meditation. So it is sometimes it become become the problem. So we should understand mindfulness of breathing meditation object is in breath and out breath only. So the touching point is not important. Touching point is not important. But sometimes some people very difficult to know the in-breath and out-breath. Although only they have to use the touching point. This is one kind of person. Although very difficult to know the in-breath and out-breath. Some kinds of person just from the touching point. Shift the focus on the breath from the touching point. This is one person. The other person is also and when they focus on the breath, and for a long time, for example, at least 1 hour, half hour, or 1 hour, or 1.5 hour. So at that time, also the nimitta appear, the light appear. But light is quite far from those meditators. So at that time, for example, light is appear from their in front, no? So at the time, their mind is to the light. So at that time, although they cannot get the deep concentration. For some kinds of meditators also, they should focus the breath on the touching point. Only for those these 2% need the touching point. But generally, no need to find the touching point. Just you trying to focus around of this area. And when you start to know the breath in, breath out, breath, enough. No need to find the touching point. Just focus on the in-breath, out-breath as nature. So, and then your faculty become the balance. If not, you find the touching point. Even though you know the breath, but you find the touching point because before you heard, or you must focus on the breath from the touching point, so you find the touching point. And then when you focus on the instead of the breath and touching. So and then your meditation change from the mindfulness of breathing to 4 elements. So I want to give the suggestion for you. Don't find the touching point. Just let that be as a nature, and please be focused on the breath only, because mindfulness of breathing meditation object is in breath and out breath only, not the touching point. It is a very important and key point. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Sayadaw. Thank you.
Good evening, Sayadaw. Pandami Sayadaw. The last time we met in Singapore, Sayadaw, thank you for the Dhamma talk today. Sayadaw, allow me to ask a few questions. I have prepared question. First is in this sutta, the word kamesu avitarago. Is this referring to pleasure? So is this mean also the craving for the pancha guna kama, or also craving to the panchakanda? Is that also meaning in that way, or is it only specifically for the raga? This is my first question.
Okay.
Okay.
Continue. You can continue.
Continue. Okay. The second one is in order to be not fearful to the death, we need to understand what's the adinawa of the sensual pleasure, so that we can find the way to escape it. Nisarana, could Bante explain it to us so that we have a understanding on this matter, Bante? Thank you, Bante. Actually, because I'm so delighted able to meet Bante again, if there's a time, I actually prepare 4 questions, but it's okay. I'm not too greedy. I just 2 questions first. If that's for extra. Thank you, Sayadaw.
Okay, so the first question in this sutta is the right of the last, not the right of the last for the sensual pleasure. So that means the sensual pleasure means that is a 2 paragraph. The first paragraph is for the sensual pleasure. Second paragraph is for the body. So that is a 2 already. So the first one is a sensual pleasure means this is pincha guna directly. The second one is the body. That means the pincha khanda. Body means the pincha khanda. Namakaya and Rupakaya. So that is a 2. The first one is the last for the sensual pleasure, pincha kama guna. And second one is last for the body. Last for the body means for the pincha khanda. No? This is for the first question.
Okay.
For the second question is to remove the lust or craving for the sensual pleasure. First of all, as you told, to find the fault of the sensual pleasure. So it is also okay, but cannot remove totally or permanently. So to remove this craving or lust for the sensual pleasure, so you need to just you replace of the thought or the sensual pleasure, not enough. So you need to practice the meditation. Meditation means they refer to the Vipassana meditation. So only the Vipassana meditation they can help you. So if you can practice the Vipassana meditation, the world, so the Vipassana knowledge becomes mature, and beyond all the mature of the Vipassana knowledge, you will be able to remove less from you for the sensual pleasure and also for the body. But here is a sensual pleasure to remove the lust for the sensual pleasure. Refer to the anagami person. Anagami person. Anagami person means the non-returner. Non-returner do not have the lust for the sensual pleasure. So that means that you have to practice vipassana meditation until attain the anagami mega non-returner path and fruition. So it is quite high. And also to remove the lust for the body. For the body means for the pincha kanda. So this one is referred to the arhanta, the arhasic person. So you need to practice vipassana meditation and they attain the arhasic, become the arhanta.
Okay.
But vipassana meditation, as I told you, cannot practice just vipassana meditation. Before practice the vipassana meditation, you must discern and know and see the ultimate materiality and their causes. To know and see the ultimate materiality and materiality, you must have enough concentration. So to have the enough concentration, you have to practice samatha meditation. You have to train your mind find the samatha meditation subject. To practice samatha meditation, also you need to practice morality. You should try to pure your context. Okay. So first of all, you need to make your morality to be pure. And then you have to establish the concentration. You have to practice the samatha meditation. And then based on the concentration, you have to develop your wisdom, the vipassana knowledge. And also you will be able to destroy or remove the lust or the sensual pleasure or for the body from you.
Okay. Thank you, Sayadaw. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sayadaw, I think it is the same question, but this is from Brother Johan Effendi. As the Putujana, we must practice until we can attain the enlightenment, so we can be free from the fearness, so we can become fearless. The question is, what is the steps that we have to do? So the focus is the step by step. What is the stage that we have to do to get this enlightenment, to be fearless?
Yes, so that's the answer. So the first step is to make the pure your morality. So you need to practice the training of morality. No? So after make the pure of your morality, you start to establish the concentration. No? That means that you can start to practice the training of concentration. So after that, if you have the enough concentration means at least the access concentration or absorb concentration. No, that is a absorption concentration. That is a attainment. One of those or at least you have the exact concentration. You must have the exact concentration. Based on this concentration, you can start to discern the nama and rupa and their causes, materiality and mentality. After that, their causes. After the discerning or know and see the materiality and mentality and their causes, you can start to contemplate the vipassana. No? So in this way, you can practice the training of wisdom. So that means to become the enlightenment. So must practice the training step by step. I'm not scared. There is no shortcut way. Okay, ready after me. Eda wada cha amihi
Eta wata cha amehi.
Sambadam punya sambadam
Sampatang punya sampadang.
Sabbi dewa anumodantu
Sabe dewa anumodantu.
Sabbi buddha anumodantu
Sabe bhuta anumodantu.
Sabbi sada anumodantu
Sabe sata anumodantu.
Sabba sampati siddhiya
Sabba sampati siddhiya.
Idame nyadina hodu
Idame nyatinang hotu.
Kita hontu nyadayo
Sukhita hontu nyatayo.
Idame nyadina hodu
Idame nyatinang hotu.
Sukita hontu nyadayo
Sukhita hontu nyatayo.
Idame nyadina hodu
Idame nyatinang hotu.
Sukita hontu nyadayo
Sukhita hontu nyatayo.
Mama punya bhagan
Mama punya bhagang.
Sabha sadana
Sabha satanang.
Hajimi
Bhajemi
Te sabe
te sabe.
Visama
Me samang
Punya bhagan
punya bhagang.
Labhantu
Labhantu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu Buddha Sadhana Chiran Didadu
Cirang titatu.
Buddha Sadhana Chiran Didadu Buddha Sadhana Chiran Didadu Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu. Okay, may you be happy, healthy, and peaceful in this life.